Today, when a family receives an inheritance, they normally sell the asset for cash, losing generations of wealth and possibility. But my guest today had a different plan, a different vision, and a commitment to his mother to change the course of their family legacy forever. My guest today, my brother Jamial Clark. He's an entrepreneur, he's a restaurateur, he's an author, and he's the developer of the Clark on 54th, a $24 million mixed-use building, 48 units, that intends to change the landscape of LA. My brother, how are you?
Doing fantastic, man.
You look good, man.
So happy to be here.
I'm happy you came,
man. I just want to give you your flowers on what you're doing. I follow you on social media. You really resonate with me with your movement, and so for you to be the first to talk to in a public platform, it was a no-brainer for me to give you this opportunity.
I'm honored, man. So, thank you, brother. Let's go into it, man.
Sir.
So your story is all across the state. You've been in all the news outlets. Your story is an incredible story of resilience, of commitment, of ownership, rooted in community, in culture, and a promise to your mother.
Yeah.
This story starts in 1985. Give the audience a framework of who your mother was and what started in 1985 became a movement that's changing LA today.
Yeah, absolutely. So my mom was a beautician. She used to do hair in the living room at our home. So, I always remember, sitting in the living room watching TV, and in the dining room, she would be in there doing hair. But she got too busy where she couldn't continue to work from home. And plus some of their customers were taking her towels, our stuff from inside of the house. It was like, no, we got to get a place to go. And so she looked at a couple places. She looked at a place downtown, and then this place came available around the corner from where we lived on 54th and Crenshaw. So she moved into that space in 1985.
You were a young boy at this time.
Yeah, I was a young boy at the time. That's 85. I was 10 years old when that happened. And so she opened up a beauty salon named Renaissance Hair Salon. And Renaissance means new beginning. So that name always stuck with me. And I end up, in the future when I opened my brokerage, I named it Renaissance Realty Group. But, I don't want to fast track to that. But going back to the story, 1985, she moves in as a tenant. She tells the owner, if it ever comes up for sale, let me know. 1995, the owner puts up the building for sale. She didn't have all the money to purchase it, so she went around and asked other tenants that they have, money to go in half with her to purchase it. And so one of the tenants had the money, and so they both went in half and bought the building for, I believe at the time was $265,000 in 1995. So that's how the story started, from that point on. And that's
wow. So we start in the living room.
Yeah.
And then she grows out the living room, has to find her own space, commercial space, and she becomes a renter of that space. 10 years goes by, and she decides, I'm going to own this space. And she's able to find another tenant to bring their dollars together.
Yes.
And the story begins.
And so that down payment actually came from my father's probate case from when his parents died. So he used the money that he received from there. He had many siblings, and so his part of the share he went into give to my mom, so they can purchase the building. And so that is again just kind of the bigger message when it comes to reinvesting and being in real estate at over 20 years. I've seen many families break up and fight over inheritance, and a lot of times that money just goes by the wayside. They'll sell, and then that money's gone. So, but I don't want to fast forward.
Yeah, no. We're going on the right track.
Yeah, some of the things that that I've seen. It always troubled me.
That's one of the things too that I wanted to ask you. So you grew up in a home where ownership was important.
Yes.
Uh, when you think about that, because I know you've been a successful real estate agent, an investor for many, many years, what perhaps were some of the lessons in ownership that were passed down to you at a young age?
I think when you are a stakeholder in a community, you have more of a vested interest in the community. And my mom was really a part of the community, meaning she attended community events like certain things when it comes to the Metro Rail when they it's on top of Crenshaw, but a lot of the businesses we wanted to go below Crenshaw, and we didn't understand the reason why I couldn't do that. Actually, it was the same cost to go below Crenshaw than it was instead of disturbing the businesses with all the construction. So we really try to fight hard against that. But again, we were unsuccessful at doing that. But, she was on the front lines with that. And I attended some of those meetings with her. And so when you are owner, you have more of a stakeholder in the community. And so that's the importance of it. And of course, the benefits that you get from having ownership and being able to do what you want to do and don't have to ask for permission to paint walls and do those other things when it comes to being a tenant as opposed to being a renter. To being an owner.
That's right. No, that's so good. So here we go. It's 95.
Yeah.
Mom now owns the property and she has a larger vision.
Yeah. So, and so in 2001, the other partner divorces her mate and then, goes back to her country and leaves the building just for my mom to take care of by herself. So that was very hard for my mom to do. She had to pull money out of her own pocket, and that's coming from us as kids. And my mom not only took care of me and my siblings, she took care of, her sister kids. She adopted 3 of her sister kids. And so I grew up in a big household. And because my aunts had, substance abuse issues and uncles during that time in the 80s were pretty tough when drugs, hurt the community. So she adopted, my cousins. And so I grew up in a bigger household because of that. But when I was young and I went to Pomona and I saw my cousin, I saw their living conditions when I was like, 7 years old, 8 years old on the way back. I asked my mom, I was like, can they live with us? And never know that years, short time after that, then they will end up, she wanted to keep them out of the foster system and ended up adopting them and bringing them and live with us. So, yeah. So, yeah. And then, we grew up in a big household and then.
Well, just to ask you,
sure.
said that you asked your mother if your cousins could come live with you.
Yeah.
So you were young.
I was young.
Interesting.
But I when I went and saw how they were living, and it disturbed me as a young kid. And so when I told my mom that on the way back from Pomona where they lived, she heard what I said. But
wow.
I have a lot of my mom's spirit in me in that way is that, I've always, think of others and selfless. And to that day, that's just who I am. I love to help and inspire people. And, for my family and my cousins, it was just kind of a no-brainer. For me, now I'm sharing a bed with 2 cousins instead of having my own bed now, but, at the end of the day, that, it's about family at the end of the day. And so, that's what she did. She was a matriarch of the family. She went above and beyond, the calling for which she was doing, where it came to a point where that was, she put that even ahead of her own ambitions and goals in life was to, just to really to give the family. And so, yeah.
No, that actually speaks to a lot of the beginning of your story.
Yeah.
And how it's in fact the heart that it shaped your view of how you want to impact your community.
Yeah.
Which is critical. So I love that. Now, so mom has a property not in 95. In 01, her partner gets a divorce.
Yeah, gets a divorce and abandons the property. My mom having to pay all the expenses and do everything and manage the building. And around 2013, she started talking to me about developing the building. And
wow.
So,
okay.
And,
just for context, right now, if I'm not mistaken, I think LA is about 1.2 million units short of homes needed to support the population today. And so again, just going back to the heart of your mother, that's been obviously transitioned into you, and your sister. So now we're 2013, and your mom is seeing that, hey, not only do we own our commercial building, but we can do more with this land.
Well, just so you know, it was just only half of it at the time.
Okay,
Because
copy.
we only own half of it.
Okay.
So, but she still was, wanted to do this. We started meeting with the neighbor next door who wanted to do it as well. And he had experience. He said he had experience. And so he wanted to, put some rough sketches and see what he can do on his end. And so we were just meeting with him and, during those, year and a half. And then, she got sick, during that time in 2013, like the late part of 2013. And, she was sick. And so she ended up passing from colon cancer in 2015.
God bless the dead, brother.
So, but I knew that, this is something that we wanted to do. I never thought I would be in a situation, I love my mother. I was one of those mama boys. So I love my mom. She was so I never thought I would be in a situation to when they brought her home from hospice and they said that, hey, there's nothing else they can do with her, that we got to bring her home. And so they brought her home on February 13th of 2015, and she passed on February 14th, which is Valentine's Day of 2015.
So not that long.
She didn't last very long. So, when she was in the living room and, she was, the hospice nurse was there and, they let you know that, hey, okay, she's about to make that transition. I walked over to her and whispered in her ear that, I'm going to continue this for you. I'm going to continue to build what you left. And that was real. Wow. I whispered that in her ear. And because the hospice nurse told me the last thing that goes is, as far as senses, is their hearing. So I don't know what made me do it, but it was just important for me to do it. And so when she passed, that was the beginning of the quest to turn this building into more and than what we envisioned it to be. And that was a journey it took. Number one is to get full ownership of the building so I can have control of the building and my sister and the family, and then finding the right partner and to making this thing happen.
Now I want to go. That's okay. By the way, as you tell your story about your promise to your mother, I think about 2 years ago, my grandfather, Billy Jamison, passed away, 85. And but to your point about that promise, so he had lost senses by and large too. Last thing he had was his hearing as well. So we're at Cedar Sinai, and my grandparents have 11 kids, 47 grandkids, big family. So many of us are in this hospital, and we're saying our goodbyes because we got a text he wasn't going to make it in the night. So we go, and everybody's saying their goodbyes to him. And I whispered to my grandfather a promise. And when I was done speaking, my aunt and my cousin said, Nick, 22 people spoke to Granddad. He's the only one who acknowledged what you said. And I think that's powerful because it's the power of your word, which appears to be the guiding light for you. Because, brother, I have helped many, many people, buy a home, own a home, and I've seen families leave their kids generational wealth as an opportunity. And many people might have just cashed out and said, Mom is going now. I got my own aspirations. I got my own ambitions. But you said, I'm going to carry this torch. Before we transition, if you can just maybe summarize. Tell me your mom's name again.
Lucretia.
Miss Lucretia.
Yeah.
What do you think is, if you could summarize it, what's the legacy that Lucretia left on this world and you as her son?
Family, family was first and foremost for her. Unselfishness, love, community, financial awareness. She was always on me to save money. It costs so much. You need to save money. She, for whatever reason, thought I didn't save it. But when I, in the story, there was a time when the loan became due.
It's before or
for the
after Mom
building
passed?
before Mom's passed.
Okay.
They had a commercial loan on the property, and the partner credit was bad, and the partner didn't want to sign off on the building so my mom could refinance the loan because she didn't trust my mom.
Mm.
So she needed, X amount of dollars. And so I said, hey, I have X amount of dollars. And so she was surprised because she always thought that I was, because I went to Vegas a lot, but I always was very frugal with my money.
Okay, got
that
it.
I came up with the money, and immediately I was like, no, I got you. I'll take care of it. And so that was a moment that kind of changed the way that she viewed me also, because she can say some things, but, I was and I am a very frugal saver. If I get a large commission, I'm putting the majority of it in the bank, and I'm putting a small portion, where I'm using it for my everyday
Enjoy.
needs
Yeah.
or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Because once I'm a learner of, once something happens negative to you, then what do you learn from it? And meaning that, I've been in real estate for over 20 years. And so I was in it when the market crashed in 2008 and 2009. So I was there where things were really bad, and people weren't buying or selling at the time. And so I had a financial hit. So that taught me that I need to work very differently and value my money. And so from that experience from there, I've learned to, like, okay, I need to really, really take it very seriously of what I'm saving. So
Got it.
yeah.
So let's set the stage.
Yeah.
Give you some context. Okay, so I'm gonna bring it into this next journey. So 1892, Andrew Carnegie, the richest man to ever live at that time in America, says to build wealth in this country, every person must work, save, invest, and buy real estate.
Yeah.
In 1936, Abraham Lincoln Harris, he's the first African American economist who went to Ivy League school. He's an economist. And he says, yes, it's important, but for many communities, the barrier is capital formation. Capital is the challenge.
Yeah.
In 2015, FHA does, I saw your eyes get big. I said, yeah, capital formation is the big problem. 2014, FHA does a study, said the real barrier to building wealth and owning real estate is capital. Now here you are. Your mom goes from the living room to she leases out a space. She buys a space with a partner, eventually buys that partner out. You come in to help make that happen. And now mom owns a property. The family now owns a property in 2015.
No, so what happens is that, when my mom passes, then, we still own half the property. So the partner flies back in, knowing that my mom passed, and now she has to deal with me now, which is another situation now, because my mom, they a lot of times took my mom's weakness, my kindness for weakness.
What, yours or your mother's?
My mother's kindness for weakness, meaning that, she would only come in town just to get her taxes and then leave back out of town. And
got it. Okay.
don't worry about, and my mom being left with all the expenses of the building. So, when she came in town, she wanted to set up a meeting with me. And so I met with her. I said, because my mom kept tabs of all the money that she owed her. I said, so when I met with her, I said, okay, I'm now, I'm handling it for the family, and I was very aggressive in our first meeting because she owed us over like $300,000, owed my mom, as far as expenses.
Now, just for context, did mom have an estate plan set up, or how did you become the heir?
Yeah, she had a trust.
Okay, got it.
She had the property under a separate property trust, and so I was in charge of the trust.
Got it. Okay, so you and your two sisters. Okay, got it. Okay,
so,
copy. Okay,
they was aware of everything that I was doing. I kept them abreast of everything in our group chat that we had together. And so I knew that at the end of the day, I wanted a divorce from the partnership because it was only a one-way partnership. So I contacted escrow and I said, hey, I needed you to put a note together for me for X amount of dollars, and I want to have her sign that in a quick claim deed, and I'll be the lender, and I want her to just sign over it because you really don't care about the building. And so that probably wasn't the right way to go, but I was really aggressive with it at the time, and I put it on the table and see if she wanted to sign it. They didn't sign it, but in 2021, 6 years later, they ended up agreeing to a buyout. And once they signed the buyout agreement, I got really emotional. I actually cried that time when that happened, because it took me 6 years to get them to agree to a amount that I felt was fair and that the family felt was fair. Because if you don't have a property, you feel like you entitled to half of it. But in this situation, we didn't feel like that was the case because of the amount of debt that you had my mom cover and without your contribution. So we were able to successfully to get them to negotiate a buyout, which gave us full control of the building. And so we can have really aggressively talk to developers and really, talk about what we have.
So this is interesting because you were there from the beginning. You were 10 when the story started.
Yeah.
And so you talk about how now 2021, you guys finally, after all this time, I mean, that's 15, that's 36 years that you've seen the story until it became the full ownership of your family. It was your mother's original dream, which I'm sure was overwhelming for you.
Overwhelming. I cried. And my development attorney happened to call me at the time when I got the email sent back. I contacted my guy to help me draft a purchase contract, and I did it on my Renaissance Realty Group letterhead. I drafted a purchase agreement, and I sent it to her because she agreed upon it verbally. And so when I got it back and it was signed on the email, I couldn't believe it would happen, because it took so much to get to that point, which is going to be talked about more in my book, because it was a lot of back and forth, language barrier. So she got her daughter was involved, and her daughter was a real estate agent in Florida. That I was, talking with her to really get the buyout done. And so, that was just kind of one of the things that I had to go through is that, and also, seeing what I had just for my property alone. And so, when she passed, and I don't want to jump around.
Sure.
But when she passed in 2015, I still needed to know what this building can be. I didn't know what it can be. It was a lot of talk with the neighbor of what it can be, but we didn't ever have a real architect that someone say, you can do this. So I went on Yelp. I found an architect, paid him $800. He didn't do anything.
What year is this?
2015.
Okay.
He didn't do anything, wasted my time. I got discouraged. I was like, man, that was kind of a waste of time. And then my sister sent me an article of the senior center that is now functioning in Inglewood on Market Street. And I read that article, and I saw that Torti Gallis was the company, the architecture for that property. I reached out to them and say, hey, I have a project. I have a building on 54th and Crenshaw. Want to know if you'd be interested in coming and take a look and see what I have. And he immediately, when he came, his name was Gilbert Roca. I appreciate everything that he's done for me. He said, yeah, you have something here. And he knew what I went through with my mom and everything. He was like, listen, I'm going to do some work for you for free. I'll do a couple renderings, and I'll let you know what you can do with this. And then, boom, he came back and said, hey, we can do 48 units with this thing. And so he introduced me to a few developers. They weren't local developers. They were developers more on the outside that didn't know much about the Crenshaw community. And we're talking, 2015 to 2017, 18. Wasn't a lot of development that was happening in the area anyway, as opposed to West Adams area, which you can see is bustling right now. And I feel that that's what Crenshaw is going to be, because I think Crenshaw is one of the only streets that you can say in any state or any country, and everyone knows that, damn, okay, that's Crenshaw.
It's a landmark.
Music and entertainment.
That's right.
And culture, it's a culture hub. I love what Destination Crenshaw is doing with the world's largest African-American outdoor museum. Please donate to Destination Crenshaw. They need funding to help complete that project. So I would love for whoever watches this, if you have the means to donate to Destination Crenshaw, they're awesome. And I don't want to jump too far. Let me let you
Please.
just ask a
No,
question.
no. You're going into it. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. But I think just to sort of bring the audience in. So you're 10 years old, and your mom is doing her hair in the living room.
Yeah.
Then mom says, "I need more space."
Yeah.
She rents a space. Then mom decides to partner with another tenant, and they buy the space.
Yes.
And then mom has a vision of what she wants, but mom passes away.
Yes.
And you make a promise
Yes.
to your mother.
Yeah.
You don't have at this point any idea what to do, but you at least know you need to find out what's possible.
Yes.
So you go through the exploration stage of discovery to see what's possible. You go through, some pretty bad leads of people who waste your time, and there's some people who actually see what you want to do and they jump in to help, and they begin to tell you, they tell you what's possible. 6 years go by, and you're working to take full ownership of the asset. Yeah. This happened about 4 years ago. It's 2021. You know what's possible. You know you have opportunity, but you need capital. To make this happen. So walk us through that experience of how you were able to attract the capital to make this project become possible.
Yeah, well, for the buyout, number one, I needed to, we didn't have any liens on the property, which we didn't have any loans. It was free and clear at the time. So I was like, all right, it should be easy for me to go to a lender, go to a bank and get financing to buy the partner out. And I went to banks and I was rejected. And it was very difficult.
And what was the reason why they did
I think, well, a lot of the reasons was because of the tenants that I had. I had an art frame store, a shoe repair store. I don't think that they kind of viewed those as sustainable businesses.
So it didn't pencil out.
It didn't, yeah. So it was a lot of that going on. I had a wig shop, social service business. I was like, it was very confusing for me. And also that, if they did lend to me, they wanted them to sign 5-10 year leases on it. And then if they do long-term leases, then I can't do any development at that point. So now I'm kind of stuck, what am I going to do? And so that's when I reached out to community, and I reached out to, the council's office for help. Marquise Dawson's office. They're, super, super cool. I reached out to, and I met a gentleman named Jason Foster, who was the president of Destination Crenshaw, who worked in the council's office, who works there. And he connected me to some local lenders who connected me with some temporary financing options, bridge loans at some very good rates that I was able to leverage and to get the buyout. They also referred me to some local developers too. That was important too as well. I think that was important for sure.
Prior to going to the council, how many banks did you say turned you down before you guys?
I went anything that was commercial wise, that did commercial loans. I applied for many banks. And I was rejected. I did the profit and loss statements. I did all the documents and provided everything that they needed. And it was very baffling to me why I couldn't get it.
One of the things that the audience may not know is this is happening, but at the same time, not only did you keep a promise to your mom, and it was supposed to be the three amigos, you and your two sisters.
Yes.
But during that time, your sister had an untimely.
Yeah, my oldest sister, Carla, passed in 2018, and that was unexpected. She was healthy, but, it was just an unexpected death. And prior to her passing in 2018, she knew that this was the path that we were all going. We were going to go and we were going to get 100% ownership, and we were going to do this development. And so before she passed, she told me a few months before she passed that, I was just coming from meeting with, a developer, and I was just kind of debriefing her on the front porch, and she told me, I hope you get this done before I pass. And I was just like wondering, why would she say anything like that? But, and then she passes away. It's just, I'm reflecting on things, and that's just more of a why that I was waking up those days, and all the times where I had the barriers of the no's that was given to me, and okay, we can do this. Oh no, we can't do this deal. The roller coasters that kept me up, that I was determined that I was going to get this project done no matter what. And I went into my own pocket, and I went into my old pocket. And so it wouldn't have 100% wouldn't have been done if it wasn't for my own funding and the money that I put into it. But the habits that I developed earlier from really being, obnoxiously just saving, that we wouldn't have been able to do it. So
Wow.
I saved up enough capital so I can be able to, to finance, to be able to show strong financial backing, great credit, to be able to pay the soft costs when it comes to the soft entitlement fees and stuff to kind of get done out of my pocket. So, yeah, I definitely invested out of my pocket to get it done.
Wow. I probably have spoken to maybe 7, 8 people who I know who've had parents who left them with a commercial asset that had great upside, but either the soft or hard cost was too overwhelming. They couldn't go over the barrier, or they did find investors, but they wanted the deal. They wanted to either cash them out,
Oh
usually.
yeah.
And when I read your story, one of your core convictions when you first started looking for developing partners for funding, you said, my family has to remain ownership. We have to own the asset.
Yes.
That's non-negotiable.
Yes.
Why was that so important? And why were you so convicted that must be the way forward?
3409 West 54th Street was our home, our second home. I used to come there after school. I used to answer phones there. I used to sweep floors. We spent a lot of time there. We had times where family members even lived in inside of. It was so big salon. We had big rooms in there that when they fell on hard times that they would stay there. So it was just like a second home for us. So it was a no-brainer that I wanted to be involved with design decisions. Every decision, even today, I attend weekly meetings talking about, today we discussed, the design for the lobby and how we want the lobby to look like. And so those things are important to have that intimate connection to it, to have a say so on what's going into a project and being involved in it too as well, because it's a learning thing too. You want to, I could be hands off, but I want to learn. I want to be able to learn so I could potentially mirror this thing or learn and get the information. So if someone else, which has happened recently, that say, hey, I saw your story and that's my story too, and I have something on Crenshaw, can you help me? I can help that person and point them in the right direction, put them in contact with the right people. So, from my experience and the things that I went through, I want to be that, big, like the connection between putting people in contact from just all the things that I went through to get through there. I've been, 9 years of grinding this out with zero experience. So it just tells you that people be intimidated because they feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have the experience. But sometimes you just got to bet on yourself. Know that it's going to be bumps in the road. Be open to learning and be just fully involved into it. And anything can happen.
I love that. There are 2 questions that I have for you. I'll ask you the first one first. Is this from a larger perspective, not commercial per se, but there are right now, I want to say 12 to 15 people, let's say kids who have parents who are going to leave them with an asset.
Yes.
And many of them, I think 78%, are going to sell the asset, not build upon the wealth that was left for the family. And I know you also have been in real estate for over 20 years. What is the message that you have for individuals about the importance of maintaining the asset to keeping that wealth in the family and build it from there?
Well, number one, you need to put your property in a trust. Let's start right there, because for whatever reason, the community and our African American community, we don't do that. We have to bring awareness to that. And minorities, we have to bring awareness to putting your property in a trust. Probate costs so much money. It costs you so much more money, and it creates a big mess. Probate, a trust is not just for, and I'm gonna give you my case. So for the trust for us, it's not just the properties, it's who's making the decisions on the health care. My mom wanted even though I handled the properties, my mom wanted my sister to make the medical decisions first. She didn't want me to make her medical decisions because she felt my sister had more experience in that. So she wanted her to make those medical decisions. So when you do a trust, it's about, laying everything out. So if something happens to you, it goes according to plan, and it just keeps things more organized in a time where it's so tough. When you have to get access to those bank accounts, you could just take the trust in there. You don't have to wait through probate to go and get authorization. Can I get access to my mom's account? They're not going to give you access to anything without the proper documentation. So you have to put the property in a trust so you can find the ways. And then after you do that, and then whatever happens to your parent, if a situation happens and you have to sell, then you have to sell. What I'm saying is think bigger and reinvest that money into another piece of real estate. Don't be careless with it. This is something that, and I think of just the sacrifices that my mom and my parents made for me, and the nights that they work, and all that sweat and tears that they put into it. That's the way to honor them and appreciate what they've done, is by they built the foundation. Now it's time for me to build the rest of it.
What was which I love that, which goes back to the name of the project.
Absolutely.
The Clark on 54th
Clark
Street.
on 54th, everlasting, not going anywhere.
What is the cultural significance that you want this project to mean, not just for your family, but for the community?
It can be done. That it could be a beacon of what's possible in the community. Again, I'm a 48 unit project. It was very difficult to find capital and money. Most big money wants to go to bigger projects, 100, 200, 300 units. That's where money wants to go. They don't want to invest in the smaller projects. So, and it's very hard to build in LA in general. It's, certain permits cost 14,000, 20-some thousand for permits. It's just, things are very tough. So by going through this, we just, we're hoping that it brings awareness, that maybe, it can make it a little easier for us to build. There's definitely a need for housing, 100% need for housing. And it's a need for affordable housing. I understand that. Mine's is not affordable.
Yeah, I want to touch that.
Yeah.
Because most of the projects want to see either 80% AMI, 120 AMI. And so, but by doing so, I actually heard the story about your sister, and she said, you might have, your siblings, nieces and nephews who want to come back from college, but they make more than the AMI, and so they can't stay and bring their dollars back to their community and live there. And so you guys decided to go with a conventional market approach versus looking for affordable housing. Why was that strategy so important for you guys to bring conventional market rate housing to our community?
Yeah, I felt like it needed to be a balance because the majority of the units that were going up in the area were affordable. So I felt like it needed to be a balance because, being in the industry and having friends that are successful and may rent, that they live in other areas, like on the west side and other areas that, now they can come back in the area that they're familiar with and live in the community. So I've already gotten people reaching out to me just from the sign that say, hey, they wanted to rent a space out and it's not even built yet, So that's just how important it is to have that diversity in it.
Wow. No, I love that. That's fantastic. Home ownership.
Yeah.
If you were to tell renters today, I actually did a study on this, that right now in California, in LA County alone, 30% of renters can afford to own a home, but they're still renting. For those individuals who are going to keep renting this year alone, they're going to spend $17.6 billion to rent. What do you tell your clients on why owning a home is so important?
There's definitely significant benefits that you get from housing. And now, especially at a time where things are the market is more of a buyer's market, things are hanging on the market more, longer on the market, is that there's opportunities for renters to get inside this market right now and have power to negotiate on pricing. Like when it's in the seller's market, you don't have that power to get, maybe offering of something that's 800,000, offering maybe 750 on it, and maybe getting a lot of closing costs. In the seller's market, you're not getting any of that. I'm literally about to put a deal potentially in escrow in the next couple of days where the price is a little less and they're getting 3% closing costs back to help that person buy the property.
Wait, who's the lender? Come on, baby.
You got to do the next one. You do the next one, baby.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, 100%. So it's
But
yeah,
you found the seller to help the buyer to make that affordable.
exactly. Yep. And so like Warren Buffett said, where people are running away, that's when you want to go to it. And so if people are having this negative opinion of the housing market, this is when you want to go in and make the deals and find the deals now. You can always refinance later, get in now. When the rates come down, then you refinance into that rate that you need. Yeah, but the rates are, I think, a little under 6.5% now, but get in now and then refinance in the future.
I love that. Before I pivot totally off the project, when you think about the not just the capital formation, but the barriers to permits and all the soft costs it takes to even get renderings to the marketplace, these are the challenges. If you were to look at your experience, what would you say would perhaps be one policy recommendation that you would like changed to make access to the idea more possible?
I think right now the Measure ULA mansion tax has had a negative impact in development. Like anything that's over $5 million, that there's a big tax. And
Now
so,
unpack that for the audience. Tell me what this means.
I don't want to give the incorrect number.
Sure, but just like a ballpark.
Yeah, on the ballpark, the percentage, I can't think of the percentage, but I know that it's a higher percentage that that the mansion tax, you have to pay for that, and so it's harder for developers to build or want to build. And it was a recent article that more developers moving out of LA because of the mansion tax. Now, how you supplement now the mansion tax, the Measure ULA has benefits because it creates the funding, which I read they did around $480 million since it's been enacted. That money is used for affordable housing. You could put in applications for affordable housing to get access to money for homelessness, to address that. But again, it's a tax that is for capital is very difficult for them to swallow. So we're looking for a buffer for that. Maybe there's alternatives that your local council or people can do to kind of bridge that gap for funding for developments.
Got it. Okay, got it. So you're saying it's harder to attract larger sums of capital.
Yeah.
Because of the tax penalty.
Yeah, because of the tax penalty. When they sell the property, whatever, they have to pay that mansion tax. The Measure.
Got it. So you see capital flowing elsewhere.
Yeah.
Where those burdens don't exist.
Yeah.
Got it. For those investors.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. Okay. Now I would love to stay here, but you are a man of many gifts and many talents. Dinas. Yeah. Now, brother, my first office. I actually love this story, man, is that when I first opened my first mortgage company many years ago, it was right by that Regis, right by the Howard Hughes Center. Yeah. And so we'd have team meetings in the morning at Dinas. It's like 2020, 2021. So I read a story that in 2024, this business has been around for over 60 years, had trouble staying afloat. 30 people who've been there for many, many years, that income is needed to take care of their housing, send their kids to school, put gas in their car. It means everything to them. And you had an idea. You and your partner, who have been longtime customers there, that said, we want to keep this business open and make it flourish. Tell me that story.
Yeah, so coming off a really emotional groundbreaking, and I didn't expect the Clark on 54th to really kind of get the media attention. I really didn't. I didn't do it for that. I did it for the family. I did it for the legacy that it builds. I did it for my great-great-grandkids when I'm not here, that they'll say, hey, the family did that. We did that. That's our building. That's always going to be there, the Clark on 54th. So coming off that emotional journey in the groundbreaking ceremony, December 5th, I was contacted a week later by my partner, Angel, and he said, hey, I have an opportunity. I think we should look into, buying Dinas. I was like, huh? Like, what do you mean? Like, he was like, listen, they closed down and our relationship with, the staff and I think this is something that we can do. And would you be interested in working with me to do this? And I said, sure. It was something to kind of transition to after spending all that time and effort for the development. But again, I'm going into something with zero experience, but the confidence that I know that I'll find a way to get it done, and I'm a quick learner. That okay, let's do this. And so we got the keys in late December to the restaurant. We rebranded it, and we brought the staff back. The cook has been there for 30 years, and a lot of managers and staff people have been there 20, 25 years. And we reopened February 24th. And I think one of my proudest moments when it comes to dealing with the restaurant and this restaurant venture is that the longtime customers that's been coming there all the years are so grateful. They give me hugs and they're so grateful that we were able to do it and that we didn't make the quality go down. We actually enhanced the quality of the food there. I use halal chicken. I don't use chicken that has a lot of hormones and stuff in it because I wouldn't want to feed someone something I wouldn't eat. So the quality of the poultry that we do and the quality of food is that we invested heavily on that. We, did some things to kind of modernize it a little bit by adding some TVs and stuff there. So, again, the biggest compliment that I could get is that you guys have done a great job with Dinah's, and we've gotten some press from that, which has been great, and some support too as well.
I love that. I know one of the challenges, the restaurant business has a shortest shelf life of survival.
Oh.
It's a high frequency, low margin
Oh yeah.
business.
Oh yeah.
But I love how you have elevated the customer experience because obviously what you want are frequent visitors to stay, right? You
Yeah.
want to create a sticky product so people
Yeah.
can keep coming back. That's a blue ocean principle, by the way. Blue
Yeah.
ocean strategy.
Yeah.
We're gonna go over that pretty
Oh yeah.
soon.
Oh yeah.
But no, so I love that, man. So you have the Clark on 54th, you have Dinah's, which is fantastic, and you are now writing a book.
Writing a book about the experience of the development and from all the way from before my mom passed is just about me and then about the journey to get there and to the end, all the pitfalls that I went through, all the hurdles I had to go through, and it was times where I didn't know if I was going to make it or not and get this development done. It was times where because I with the temporary financing that I had take on the building that that's coming due soon. If we don't get this done, am I going to have to, potentially, sell this thing? And I said, I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to find a way to get it done. I'm going to find a way to get it done. And so here we are. We was able to get it done. I was not going to quit. I was always going to find a way to do it. I met with the council's office many times and many local, events that I went to get in front of as many people as I can. Even, and it meant so much to get this done, and it was really a gut check for me to get this done, and I tell you why. So, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2022, and right after we got married, in May, she had to have double mastectomy surgery in like August, like a few months after we got married. And so that was very tough, but I told her I would be by her side. And I took her every day to her chemo appointments. I set up her laptop. I put her ice bags in the freezer every day for her feet and hands to make sure that, because the chemo is the aggressive hard chemo does damage to your nerves. So, and the way to combat that is actually wearing, the hand mittens, the ice hand mittens in the feet, and actually putting it on your hair so you won't lose your hair. But unfortunately, she lost her hair because it's very hard on the body. So the nurses said that I was the only, husband that would ever come in and do that and set, and be there for their mates. And on another note, if anybody out there knows someone that's going through cancer, give them support, give them the support that they need. It's, I've sat in when they tell you, when they told my wife she has cancer, then the treatment, for them, they just go blank. They got cancer. They're not thinking of the plan. So it's good to have that other set of ears there to be there to give them that support that they need. And so, let's fast forward and going through all this. I'm still trying to sell real estate. I'm still negotiating the development. I'm still going through all these things. There's a big conference, the Reese conference, that happened where all the top developers and the money people they all meet up in this year. In that year in particular, it was in I think it was in 2003. It was in downtown at a hotel, and the ticket was like $1,000. So the day I was going to go that morning, and they were going to tour my site. My site was one of the properties they were going to tour. That I got a call from the doctor. My wife and I got a call from the doctor that morning that said the cancer spread to her brain. I'm sitting there like, I'm not going to be able to get in front of these people. I'm not going to be able to. I'm just like I'm just frustrated. I'm just like it was a gut punch, and so I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it. But this is so important for me to go to, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to. I'm not gonna be enough and be in my right mind. I don't know what this even means. And she told me encouraged me that I still should go. So I had to dress up in a suit and go and talk and talk to these big money people and the people I needed to get in front of that were out of state coming into one area that I had to go and show them who I am and to convince them to invest into the project. So that's just one of the things I had to really dig real deep and to go and get in front of all those people and to put on a face where inside, I don't know if she's going to live or die or what's the treatment or what's happening, and so that's just one of the things that, I just dug deep. And for anything that you care and you have a passion about, there's going to be hurdles and things that may happen in your life, and you have to stay driven and stay focused on it.
That's actually a great segue in terms of a question I'm thinking about as you're speaking now, and that is, brother, there are so many people who are right now going through a storm in their life, in their own way. I saw a study actually on this that 54% of Gen Zers between 18 and 24 don't believe that they have the personal agency to manifest their own life, their desires, their dreams, their outcomes. You've gone through your own storms in your life, and there are people who are going to hear this, be inspired by your story, but who feel like, I can't do what Brother Clark did because he's special, because he persisted. What's the message you have for those people today?
You're not going to know it until I thought the same thing. I used to tell my mom when you leave this earth, I'm gonna jump in the grave with you. I used to tell her that all the time. But you don't never know until you encounter it. Is your character and what you made out of. And so, and I believe everyone has it inside. They just have to tap into it, and they have to believe in whatever that they're doing, and that this temporary. It's gonna be better days, and that's what I could say is just.
You guys have kids? Are you and your wife?
Yeah.
How many kids?
Just one.
You have one.
Just one.
How old is?
He's a man now. I mean, he's 31 years old. So,
31. Oh, you have a grown. Okay.
He's a grown kid.
He's a grown kid.
So yeah, he's actually getting his license. As well. So his real estate license, because now with everything that's happening, I want to start, just building more, with him and to get him into the business. I think that, his journey, he wanted to do his journey, which is fine. And now, I want him to bring him into this side of the business and to give him another option.
This is incredible, man. What do you say at this point, man? You're still a young man. You have a lot of life to live. Where are you when you see the next 5 or 10 years of your life? Where are you? What are you doing?
I would like to be I would love to be, my goal is to be a philanthropist and do philanthropical work. That's my passion, humanitarian work. So, next 5 to 10 years, I hope to be in a position where I can give more of my time to things that I care a lot about, which is the community. I'm a part of the Concerned Black Man organization of Los Angeles. I would love to, continue to grow and be a part of that. I'm a part of the committee for that. I would love just to do more things to improve the community, bring, businesses and things that the community needs. Like I said, we don't need more liquor stores or fast food places. We need, we got now in the Crenshaw district, we have Planet Fitness that they just built. We just had Vallarta that's just open on Crenshaw and Slauson, a supermarket. So, but we need more healthy options. We need those type of things in the community. So I want to be a part of the renaissance of bringing up the uprising of what the Crenshaw district is. And so, that's the goal.
I love that, man. The final for me is there's a family who's listening to this, and they perhaps are seeing housing and affordability, and they say to themselves, no matter how hard I work, I'll never be able to own a home. So they give up, knowing that over time, you said rates might come down.
Yep.
It might happen for them again in the future. What's your message to that family to keep believing, to keep striving, so when the time does come, they're ready for it?
Keep saving. If you have the means to buy, I would definitely say buy. I would say be open to investing potentially out of state. And I'm a little unconventional in that way, meaning that there's the Sun Belt area where you can buy, like, for example, in Memphis or in Little Rock, Arkansas, or Birmingham, Alabama, you can buy a 4 or 5 unit building for $250,000 or $300,000 that you can get. You're not going to get the same appreciation that you would get in LA, but you will get the cash flow. Use the house hacking technique of just you looking out of state of, places in Cleveland, Ohio, and the reason I know this because I was looking at a lot of out of state investing because, duplex in LA is like $800,000, but for $800,000 in another state, I can get like 34, to 60 units. So I would say, buy something, and eventually use that asset to purchase, your home.
I love that. And then last thing for me, this has been an honor, brother.
Thank you.
Your story is incredible. And the journey of your mom, who started off with a dream and left it to you to finish that dream. Now you have your own son who perhaps could take it even further, which is a blessing. She's looking down on you right now.
Yeah.
What do you think she's thinking?
Everyone tells me that she's proud of me, but I universally feel that she's proud of me. Because there's a song that comes on that I know is her favorite song that come on at that right moment. I'm a true believer in that. When I got the buyout from the partner, I actually drove to her gravesite the next day to let her know that I did do it. I haven't been back since, but I felt it was important to go to her gravesite that day and say, and to my sister. And I took my nephew with me too as well, because I was like, I was like, do you want to go up there and see your mom and go see my mom? He was like, yeah, let's go. And so I was like, let's hop in the car and let's go. And so I didn't tell him why I went, but I just told him I needed to go up there and wanted to see if he wanted to go up there and see his mom. And he hasn't been up, and he didn't go. He hasn't went for, at that time. And so we both it was our first times, and so I went and had my moment with my mom, and he had his moment with his mom, and then I went to my sister and let her know, I did it, and so it was meaningful to let them know that I completed the objective. That was it.
You heard an incredible story today, from the beginning of a dream to the outcome of a dream being fulfilled and still going. Every generation has a responsibility to make it better for the next. And you can do that for your kids. You must make a choice to have generational wealth or generational worry. You cannot have both. The choice is yours. Your family, they're dependent on you to take that first step to owning a home and building wealth for years to come. Brother Clark.
Appreciate you, brother.
My man. Let's go.